press conference, I'd like to cut one of the cakes so that we can demonstrate what we're talking about. And let's just say that if you went into a bakery, bought a cake, and they took a huge chunk of it out and then handed it to you, you probably would not be a very happy person.
That's really good.
So I'm going to do the traditional Equal Pay Day, which is nationally, which is at 80%, taking 20% out. But please keep in mind that we have to also think about intersectionality of race and gender, and the chunk would be even larger if we focus on specific groups of women. So this is taking out. There we go. And then I will be delivering this cake. I'll clean it up a little bit. But I'll be delivering this cake to my representative, Ruben Gallego, after the press conference. Okay? And as I mentioned earlier, please stick around as the other chapter members will be getting their cakes ready if you want to take some photos with them. And our first speaker is Kate Gallego, City of Phoenix Council member.
Unhappy Equal Pay Day. The newspaper last year had a headline saying, "Happy Equal Pay Day," said no woman ever. I'm sorry that we are here today and that it's not January 1st. It would be nice if we could close the pay gap so that every woman would make equal pay for equal work. But the good news is that we do have some things to celebrate this year. We are here at the City of Phoenix. One of the things that we've learned is that when women hold leadership positions, it is easier to close the pay gap, that we see progress towards that. With this March election, the City Council is now 50-50 men and women, evenly divided. Since we last marked Equal Pay Day, women now lead the 4 largest departments at the City of Phoenix. We are in the largest city in the country with a female fire chief and a female police chief. We still have a long way to go, but with women in leadership, we can have an honest conversation about these issues and move forward towards closing that pay gap, so that someday Equal Pay Day will be on January 1st, and we can legitimately say, Happy Equal Pay Day. We have, at the City of Phoenix, passed an ordinance dedicating the city to doing our part to close the pay gap. I want to thank the National Organization of Women for their partnership in developing that ordinance and for organizing today's event, in particular, Diane Post for her leadership. We are looking at the City of Phoenix across our operations for pay gaps that we need to address. We're also trying to partner with the women's advocacy and nonprofit community to help educate women. We as women are responsible for negotiating our salary, and we ought to support each other and give each other the tools to do so. In cases where women do not feel comfortable negotiating their salary, perhaps because of their current status, working conditions, or other reasons, they have, I hope, an ally in the City of Phoenix in our Equal Opportunity Office. If they want government support as they go forward and negotiate, to know that the City of Phoenix stands behind women as they negotiate their salary. We also encourage people, including our employees, to participate in classes from the American Association of University Women, the YWCA, and other nonprofits to help understand compensation, to research what you ought to be paid, to practice making that ask, making your case, and going out there and articulating why you deserve the raise that you would get. And if everyone here today could go out and get a raise, it would help us close that pay gap in the City of Phoenix, and everyone listening at home as well. So we will continue to move forward looking at our operations, varying from on-the-ground compensation at the City of Phoenix to looking at our investments. Are the companies that the City of Phoenix employees' pensions are invested in supporting equal pay? Are they looking at their boards of directors, their executives? Do they accurately reflect the communities they reserve? The City of Phoenix votes our shares in favor of more diverse corporate boards, which research from MIT and others have shown delivers better profits for our employees as well. What's good for women is good for business. It's one of the key messages of Equal Pay Day, and one of the points that we hope everyone will take away this year as we continue to move forward to Equal Pay Day on January 1st. Thank you so much for all of our partners here today, coming down for City Hall and helping us close the pay gap. Thank you.
I'd like to welcome Stephanie Vasquez, owner of Fair Trade Cafe.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Kate, for all that you do for all of us here. With the name Fair Trade Cafe, it's safe to assume that livable wages and conscientious products are the foundation of my businesses. Lifting up women is another essential component to the cafes. Maya Angelou once said, something dies inside of you when you don't take a stand. After listening to the story of a woman named Maria, who was a mother of 4 and worked for 10 years in the same fast food chain making minimum wage, I knew it was my time to take a public stand. In 2016, I became the business chair for Arizona's minimum wage increase. This increase would impact 70% of households headed by women, just as mine is. I felt strongly about this as it encapsulated a lot of what I and my businesses represent. Thank you. Not only do I see the day-to-day struggle of my fellow women, I've experienced it. I applaud Kate Gallego for being the main proponent of the Equal Pay ordinance in Phoenix. However, I have to question, why is it in the year 2017 do I represent a pay gap of nearly half because I'm a Latina? The continued discrimination against women is completely unacceptable. As a community, it's our responsibility to create equality for the generations here and those to follow. Thank you.
I'd like to welcome Kiana Dickinson, professor and consultant for Arizona List.
Good morning.
Yay.
Good morning. This is Equal Pay Day, but unfortunately that day doesn't apply to me. In 1851, Sojourner Truth stood before a group of feminists and abolitionists and asked a very simple question. She asked, "Ain't I a woman?" Well, on this day, unfortunately, in 2017, I still have to ask that question. Ain't I a woman? Because the majority of the people listening today, this is your Equal Pay Day, but I still have months to go. I still have months to go before I can adequately participate financially in our American system. I still have months to go before I can participate in the educational system that educates our children. I still have months to go before we have adequate accessibility to health care. I still have months to go, but ain't I a woman? This state will pay me $36,000 a year and pay a man, a white man, $52,000 today. But ain't I a woman? Some of my white sisters here in this audience will make $10,000 more this year than I will, but ain't I a woman? Some of our sisters here still have to wait beyond me to get equal pay, but aren't they women? We will not be equal until we are all equal, because Sojourner Truth asked that very simple question, ain't I a woman?
Yep.
Because we cannot participate in our system, because we cannot participate in the politics in this state, we are at a disadvantage in electing women and women of color to represent us in the state of Arizona.
Yes.
And until we can participate fully, until our incomes are equivalent to the passion and the purpose that we have for this state, we will be behind in electing women and women of color.
Oh, you got it.
But I ask the question, Gallego said on January 1, and stand next to our men, and stand next to our women of all colors. This day does not apply to me. This day does not apply to half of the state of Arizona. Equality does not work unless it works for everyone.
Yeah. Woohoo!
And until we can elect more women to sit at the table, until we have more women like Shirley Chisholm who will bring that chair to the table,
Oh, yeah.
until we have more women like Kay Gallego and Laura Pastor,
Woohoo!
until we have more women like Devin Rankin and Angie Krause who work for Arizona Lists,
Oh, yeah.
until we have more women like Diana Post, until we have more advocates all over this state who are saying, until we are all equal, none of us are equal, equal pay day will never be equal. But I will ask you one question. Am I still a woman?
Yeah. All right. Nailed it. Nice. So when are you ready for this?
I'd like to welcome Nancy Zurich, Professor of Justice and Social Inquiry in the School of Social Transformation at ASU.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here today, and thank you to the organizers of this event and to the City of Phoenix and the Mayor for the proclamation. Nationally, women who hold full-time year-round jobs, we know, are paid less. And when you look at the differences by race, the results, the differences are even more shocking, which I think the speakers before me have pointed out. In the U.S. as elsewhere, women still continue to do more of the domestic labor than do men, whether they do it for no pay in their homes or do it for pay for someone else. Women are still doing a lot of the domestic chores. That means they're doing things like cleaning, scrubbing, and baking cakes. But yet, they may bake those cakes, but they and their children don't get to eat the cakes. The cakes go to somebody else, or at least their share is much smaller. And in Arizona, the gap for women is not quite so large. But the reason that that gap is not quite so large is because men are paid $4,000 below, Arizona men are paid $4,000 below what men in other parts of the country are paid. That's not how we want to get equality. But also, women are paid less than women in the rest of the country, just not as much. They're paid only $2,000 a year less than women in other parts of the country. Not a win-win situation for anybody here. The National Partnership for Women and Families estimates that Arizona women who are employed full-time lose a combined total of almost $6 billion every year to the wage gap. Their losses mean less money for families to spend on basic goods and services and to spend on their future and the future of their children. If the pay gap were eliminated, estimates suggest that a working woman would have money for 51 more weeks of food in a given year, or more money for a mortgage or for paying rent. And when you look at the race and gender wealth gap in the United States, that pay contributes to a worsening, those pay inequalities contribute to a worsening of the racial wealth gap and the gender race wealth gap. This is so tragic because over 300,000 family households in Arizona are headed by women, and almost 31%, 95,000 households of those families have incomes that fall below the poverty level. So we're contributing with this pay gap to the worsening feminization of poverty. Pay gaps also are larger for mothers than for non-mothers. Mothers employed full-time year-round get only 71 cents for every dollar paid for fathers, and if